terrified of opening the hood of your car? Well, look no further, because today we're in Chicopee. We're at E&G Automotive. We're going to go inside and see what Eric and the whole team can do for us. Eric, thanks so much for inviting us out here today.
Great, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So the winter, it's a tough time. I know my car took a beating. I'm sure a lot of people's cars out there took a beating. But you have guarantees on your work. So if people come in, their car's in tough shape, you guarantee it for 3 years or 36,000 miles.
Yep, 3 years, 36,000 miles. That's parts and labor. We feel that when you, just like when you buy a new car, that comes with a warranty that's generally at least 3,000 or 36,000 miles.
Not a lot of people do it. Not a lot of people do it, and it's probably because you trust your work so much.
Yes, we trust, we install value or quality parts, and we back that up with our warranty.
Now, Eric, a lot of people out there, they think that all mechanics are kind of cut from the same cloth, but you're kind of one in a million. You recently won a pretty big award, if you wouldn't mind telling us about that.
Yeah, back in 2002, I won the AC Delco Technician of the Millennium competition. Basically, it was like a hands-on competition. They bugged the cars.
And he's being modest. It was an international competition.
It was an international, yeah, United States and Canada, yes.
So tell everybody what you had to do in that.
What they did is they started off with a written test. They took the top 5 from each. They divided the United States up into regions. They took the 5 top written scores in the regions, and then we competed amongst each region in like a hands-on competition.
So if our car has a problem, you can probably fix it.
Most likely.
But you also have some basic services too, and your oil change is pretty special. Tell us about it.
When we do an oil change, we do a very comprehensive inspection. We check all the fluids, we check the tires, we peek at the brakes, we check the exhaust, the lights, things like that.
And what's nice too is you top off all the fluids, because I can't tell you how many times I've gotten out of an oil change and then flick my button for the washer fluid. There's nothing there, and I totally forgot about it, and they were supposed to do it, but they didn't.
Right, that's very important, especially for an oil change, but also, even if it's not here for an oil change, we automatically check all the fluids. That's one of the first, we call it the 5 boxes. That's one of the 5 things we check on every car.
So Eric, there's a lot of things that we can't do, that's why we come to you, but there's some things that we can do at home to extend the life of our cars just a little bit. So why don't we start with the wheels? Do you want to show us some things that we can do?
Sure.
Let's go.
Okay.
So Eric, these days a lot more people are keeping their cars longer because they can't afford to buy new ones. So you have some tips today when it comes to tires to help extend the life of our car.
Tires, a lot of people have heard the penny test. They use basically the head of a penny. You put it in there and compare. It should cover most of the head, or all of the head, I should say. If the head is exposed, something like that, they basically say you need tires, which measures about 3/30 seconds. And we have a more sophisticated tool to measure the depth, and that's what we do. When we do an oil change, we measure tread depth on every vehicle.
So once the oil change finishes up and the customer comes to pick up the car, I'm sure there's you go over the list with them and say, well, your oil change is done, your car is all topped off and looks great, but here's some things you might want to consider going forward.
Exactly. Yep.
And then no matter the make, the model, I assume you can get the parts and the tires.
Yes. Yep, we can do the tires.
And the nice thing is, if people do get their parts here, or their labor here, you were saying earlier, it's a 3-year, 36,000 mile guarantee.
Correct.
Well, we've done the tires. Shall we go up a little bit and see what we can do with the blades?
Sure. Our wiper blades, that's another one of our checks, but you can check yourself. This is an extreme case. What happens, the rubber gets dry rotted and starts to peel away from the blade. It also does a lousy job cleaning the windshield. It's one of the things where a lot of people don't remember they need wipers until it rains. Then they turn them on and say, oh yeah, I need wiper blades. So we check them regardless.
If you're trying to squeeze another year or 2 out of your current vehicle, consider getting a headlight restoration to clean up your cloudy and discolored headlights. It'll increase illumination by about 300%, and just like all the services at E&G Automotive, it comes with a 3-year guarantee. This is one of the parts of the car when people open it up, the vast majority of them, they freak out because they have no idea what any of this stuff does. But take everyone at home through it, and what can they expect in their car, and what are some things that they can do to extend the shelf life of their vehicle?
One of the most common things we see are fluids. Fluids are usually low, oil, coolant. To check coolant on most modern cars today, you don't have to necessarily take any caps off. You can see the coolant level right through the bottle.
And more often than not is that color, right?
Sometimes they're pink, some are green, some are almost yellow. It depends on the manufacturer.
And also, you should always look at the labels too, because there's some things in here we're not supposed to open up.
Correct. I mean, definitely never want to open the coolant when the engine's hot. And anytime you check the fluids, it should be cold. That's the best time to check them.
Now across the car, I see the windshield wiper fluid.
Yep, that one's already been here, so you can see it's already been topped off. You can see right through the bottle there.
Now, is there anything else that we should feel comfortable with touching on under our own hood?
I think just a good visual inspection would be good, and checking the fluids, checking the oil with the dipstick, especially if it's been a while since it's been serviced. It'd be a good idea to check the levels.
Eric, people like me can even check their own battery too.
Yeah, you can physically look at the on this particular battery, it's covered. But under a cover, some are in the back seat also, but this one's here. You want to check for corrosion around the battery cables. You can see this one's pretty clean. We do have a battery tester that, again, when we do an oil change, we test all the batteries also with the tester.
And if you see something in your battery that you don't think is right, don't try to make the change yourself, though. Come on into a place like E&G Automotive.
Yeah, something like that. You can just stop by, point it out to us. We can tell you if it's safe or not, or whatever needs to be done with it.
If you want your car serviced by the technician of the millennium, and if you want your parts and labor guaranteed for 3 years or 36,000 miles, check out E&G Automotive online at egautomotive.com or right on Granby Road in Chicopee.